Under the glowing lights of Moscow's electric arena, a restless storm of voices filled the air. Thousands of eyes locked onto the squared circle, sensing something special was about to unfold. This was more than just a fight. This was a clash of cultures, styles, and philosophies of boxing. On one side stood Oleksandr Usyk of Ukraine, Olympic gold medalist, master of footwork, magician of angles, and a fighter molded from the same classic Eastern European school that produced legends like Lomachenko and Klitschko. Calm, composed, and smiling before the opening bell, his eyes gleamed with confidence. On the other side, Thabiso "The Rock" Mchunu of South Africa, compact, awkward, defensively sharp, a southpaw specialist known for frustrating taller, more celebrated opponents. His boxing rhythm was unpredictable, his defense crafty, and tonight he promised to give Usyk something he'd never seen before: genuine discomfort. As the referee gave final instructions, the tension in the air thickened. The bell rang. Usyk stepped forward, like a chess grandmaster, about to engage a puzzle. Mchunu bobbed, weaved, flicked a jab, and feinted. His rhythm was unusual, and even Usyk looked slightly puzzled. The crowd sensed it. This was not going to be an early dominance display. No, this fight had layers. The early rounds were a strange dance. Usyk, usually the ring general from the very beginning, found himself studying, searching, analyzing. Mchunu's low stance, sudden lunges, and quick counters disrupted Usyk's usual flow. He rarely threw the left hand, choosing instead to probe with his right jab, trying to crack the rhythm of the South African. Mchunu landed sneaky right hooks, slid away, kept Usyk guessing. The crowd murmured in curiosity. Usyk, the fluid ring artist, looked cautious, respectful, perhaps even slightly troubled. But that's what made him special. He wasn't just a fighter, he was a thinker. He didn't get frustrated. He downloaded data. By the end of round 3, commentators noted that Mchunu had successfully thrown Usyk off rhythm. Not many fighters in the world could claim that. Usyk's trainer, shouting from the corner, reminded him, "Be patient, don't be too eager, work behind your jab." And that's exactly what Usyk began to do. He wasn't chasing the solution. He was building it, piece by piece. Slowly, the puzzle began to make sense. In round 4, the tide quietly began to shift. Usyk was still carefully measuring the distance, but now he was stepping around, forcing Mchunu to turn, to react, to exit his comfortable rhythm. The South African's right hook still snapped through occasionally, but now Usyk was ready, slipping slightly, rolling his shoulders, parrying with subtle angles that only seasoned technicians could appreciate. The Ukrainian began doubling his jab, then tripling it. He started peppering body shots, not to hurt immediately, but to shape reactions, condition timing, and open doors. When Mchunu lunged forward to counter, Usyk no longer froze. He stepped back half a beat, then answered. His movements were flowing now, ghost-like, unhittable. His footwork, honed through thousands of hours of Lomachenko-style drills, began to tell a different story. Usyk wasn't chasing Mchunu, he was painting around him. By the end of the round, he landed a clean left hand that made Mchunu blink. It wasn't the hardest shot of the night, but it said something important. Usyk had found his timing. By round 5, the rhythm of war had changed. Usyk was no longer reacting. He was dictating. He was moving from left to right, spinning, pivoting, firing jabs with precision. He didn't load up. He didn't roar. He simply touched, then snapped. Mchunu, once confident, now began to feel smothered, not by pressure, but by intelligence. Usyk's feints were creating openings. His punches were coming from strange angles. His hands, fast, disciplined, dangerous, began landing with frequency. The crowd sensed the energy shift. The commentator spoke of Usyk's class beginning to tell. But even as momentum swung, Mchunu refused to fold. He landed a sharp counter right hook, and even stunned Usyk for a moment. The arena gasped, but Usyk smiled. It wasn't arrogance. It was acknowledgement. He was enjoying the challenge. That was Usyk, a fighter who didn't just want to win, he wanted to solve. And now, the solution was nearly complete. Round 6 was where Usyk's artistry turned into authority. He began throwing combinations, not just single lefts. He mixed jabs, hooks, uppercuts, and weirdly angled punches that seemed to stop mid-air before accelerating into impact. His footwork was ballet-like, stepping slightly, causing Mchunu to miscalculate distance, then punishing him with timing. At one point, Usyk fired a double jab, then without warning, launched a left uppercut right through the guard. It landed. Mchunu stumbled. The first knockdown. The arena erupted. Even though Mchunu rose, that moment was symbolic. Usyk hadn't just hurt him physically. He'd cracked the code. The South African's unpredictable rhythm, now predictable. His awkward angles, now mapped. Usyk didn't chase a finish. He chased mastery. He was now confidently layering punches, landing at will, choosing angles and rhythms like an orchestra conductor commanding crescendo. The middle rounds showcased why Oleksandr Usyk is considered one of the most intelligent fighters of this era. He began to control geography, pushing Mchunu to the ropes, circling, cutting off escape routes. But instead of an aggressive assault, he used patience, but the dangerous kind. He used control, manipulation, and mental pressure. Every feint forced a reaction. Every step forced a reposition. Mchunu still fought bravely, still slipping shots, still landing sporadic counters. But now, Usyk made him pay for every missed punch. The difference was clear. Usyk was no longer in a fight. He was running a clinic. His corner shouted, "Now we go to work." Usyk nodded, and work he did. He ripped body shots, then stepped back, letting the oxygen drain from his opponent's tank. He feinted vulnerability, then unleashed accuracy. He wasn't just faster. He was cleaner, sharper. A surgeon disassembling his patient with precision. Rounds 7 and 8 represented complete dominance. Usyk was now smiling between exchanges, not disrespectfully, but joyfully. He was in his flow state. The air in the arena shifted. Even those who cheered for Mchunu admired what they were witnessing. Elite-level boxing genius. Usyk began switching speeds, throwing soft taps, then sudden explosions. He doubled and tripled his right hook, then whipped a left that spun Mchunu slightly around. The second knockdown came not from brute force, but from accumulated brilliance. Mchunu rose again, breathing heavily, blinking the sweat from his eyes, but still standing with heart. The bell rang. Usyk walked back to his corner calmly. His trainer touched his gloves and said, "Now, finish it." Usyk, breathing slow and steady, simply nodded. He knew what came next. Round 9 would be the end of the lesson. When round 9 began, it felt like the final act of a movie. You could sense it. The pace quickened. Usyk was now relentless, but controlled. He used tight pivots, turning Mchunu into traps. He blocked with his elbows, rolled with shoulders, and countered with surgical precision. The crowd felt the pressure building. The South African tried to fire back, but his shots lacked snap now. Fatigue and frustration were eating into him. Then, the final moment arrived. Usyk threw a probing jab, then feinted to the body. Mchunu dipped, and Usyk exploded. A perfectly timed left hand crushed through the guard, rattling Mchunu's skull. He staggered. Usyk followed with a brutal right hook, then a final brutal left uppercut. Mchunu collapsed. The referee didn't need to count. He waved it off. It was over. And just like that, Oleksandr Usyk, Olympic gold medalist, master of movement, student of the game, had solved another puzzle. He had dismantled a proud warrior, not by overpowering him, but by outthinking him. The official time of stoppage, 1 minute, 53 seconds of round 9. The arena stood and applauded, not just for victory, but for artistry. Usyk remained undefeated, still WBO cruiserweight champion of the world. He smiled, crossed his arms, and kissed the Ukrainian flag. Boxing wasn't just sport to him. It was poetry, it was geometry, it was intellect, and tonight it was beautiful.